Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking around through that break. If you are just tuning in, we just finished our segment on the franchise tag deadline. We did a little bit of a recap from yesterday, more focusing on the moves that weren't made than the moves that were made. If you want to see some moves that, talk about some moves that were made, we talked about that in the first segment of yesterday's show. But like I was saying, in this second segment, we are going to transition into the NBA. We're going to talk a little MVP race. We're getting towards the end of the season. We have about 25 games left. So the MVP race has kind of solidified. We have a general idea of what our finalists are looking like. And we're going to take a look at their resumes right now, who I think should be in the final, who I think should win the MVP, and why that they should have that case. But before we get too far into it, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net, leave a tip or donation there. Your message will pop up on the screen for everyone to see. We'll have a little discussion about what you had to say. Again, that link is gsmcpodcast.net. Like I was saying, we're going to transition into a little bit of NBA talk right now. The MVP race is heating up. There's been a bunch of, I guess you could call it lead changes. The beginning of the season, you had your favorites from last year in Jokic and Embiid. Embiid has officially missed enough games that he is no longer in qualification for the MVP award or any other awards this season. So he has been taken off of the list. But let's start there with Jokic. Jokic still sits comfortably as the odds-on favorite to be the MVP. This would be his third MVP in 4 years. You look at his numbers, he's averaging 25, 12, and 9. This is the second or third year in a row where he's less than an assist away from averaging a triple-double. He has never averaged a triple-double in his career, but he's been so close. He was at 9.8, I believe, one of those years. And he continues to be one of, if not the best player in the world. I think he's the best player in the world right now. He started off a little slow, but he has pushed his way back into the top of these discussions with some incredible performances. We talked about how close he is to averaging a triple-double, and Jokic has 4 straight triple-doubles heading into, he had 4 straight at the beginning of last week. He is there's only 2 players, he joined Westbrook. Him and Westbrook are the only 2 players to have 4 triple-doubles before the fourth quarter 4 times in a row. So he is a triple-double machine. He is on pace to become the all-time triple-double leader. He'll probably pass that, if not next season, then 2 seasons from now, definitely. And depending on how much Russell Westbrook slows down, he might even be the first to 200. It's going to be real close with that. I don't think that'll happen. I think Westbrook will get 1 or 2 more before Jokic gets 70 more. But that is a whole nother conversation. If we are looking at the MVP standings right now, Jokic is at the top. The other big competition for Jokic right now, some young guys. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, averaging 31, 5, and 6 on the number 1 seed in the West. A young Thunder team that is surpassing all expectations. They have a great young core with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, who is in his own battle that he is basically lost at this point, with Victor Wembanyama for Rookie of the Year. That's an electric battle. And Shai is up here trying to get the MVP. He is the league leader in 30-point outings. He has 44 of them. 44 games where he has scored more than 30 points. He's averaging 31. That's an insane scoring output on a team that has been really, really incredible on the offensive end of the floor. the Thunder have been really fun to watch under these new guys. Shea is second in MVP odds right now, at least in my opinion. And it's really, as long as everything stays the way it is, I think he has a really good shot of winning MVP this season. We take a look at one of those things that has a factor in that is definitely voter fatigue. We just talked about it. Nikola Jokic has won 2 MVPs in the last 3 seasons. He was the runner-up last year. Nikola Jokic has won so many awards so often, so recently, that voter fatigue is a thing. And it's in every sport. It's just part of awards. It's understandable, and Shea absolutely deserves it for the season that he has been having. So he probably has a much better shot at winning MVP than if a guy like Jason Tatum had been at the spot where Jokic is. And Jason Tatum is another guy, and in this MVP race, he's the best player on the best team. And as much as I hate that matters in the MVP race, the standings do matter. I think MVP is more of a personal award than it is a team award, but because if you take Jason Tatum off of that Thunder team, Jason Tatum off of that Celtics team, they're still going to be good. They're not going to be as good. They're not going to be the best team in the East, but they're still going to be a playoff team, probably a top 4 seed as well. That team is just so stacked. Same thing with Giannis, who also is in conversations here as well. You take him off that team, they're not going to be nearly as good, but they're still going to be a playoff team. They're still going to probably be a top 4 team in the East. They still have Damian Lillard. That team is not as much of a super team as the Celtics are, but you take a look at those guys. Their resume for MVP isn't quite as impressive to me as a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Nikola Jokic, who are powering their team or leading their team to surprising status, stuff we did not expect at the beginning of the year. And the last guy on the list, again, is kind of the opposite. We talked a little bit about with Jason Tatum and Giannis Antetokounmpo about how standings matter when we're talking about the MVP race. And one of those guys that it's affecting is Luka Doncic, who right now, if you go by odds, is the 5th highest odds to win the MVP. Luka has 11 30-point triple-doubles, but he's held back by the fact that his team is clawing to stay in a play-in spot. Obviously, they missed the playoffs last year, and Luka has been playing incredibly. He was climbing up boards. He was climbing up the MVP race for the last couple weeks after the All-Star break when the Mavericks were on their winning streak. And since they started losing again, he started to fall back down. And that's just how it is. Right now, if I was looking at these top 5 guys, and really the entire NBA, I think this is a 2-horse race between Shea and Jokic. If I had to put my hat in the ring for one of them, give a prediction right now, my best guess is that it would be Jokic winning his 3rd one, although I wouldn't be surprised. Right now, for me, it's about 55-45 towards Jokic. If Shea can... So this is how it's going to work. For voting, at least in my opinion, if Jokic can hit that triple-double mark for averages, if he can get his assists number up to triple-double, to averaging a triple-double, that award is his. If not, I think they're going to give it to Shea simply because of voter fatigue. And that's not to discount what Shea's been doing all season. That is not to discount at all the incredible play that he has done and the job he has done to turn the Thunder into the number 1 seed in the West. It's so much fun to watch that team. I think he deserves it. but voter fatigue is going to play a huge role in if he wins that MVP award. That Thunder team, they're going to keep winning. This really does feel like a two-horse race. There are some dark horse candidates, though. There were some conversations earlier in the season about LeBron James being in the MVP race, and I just wanted to throw his name in there. Not because I think he's going to win it, because of how insane it is to me that he's still arguably top 10 in MVP voting right now. At 39 years old, after doing it for 20 years, it's insane to me that he is that high up in the MVP conversation. And we talk about how amazing LeBron is all the time because of his longevity. He just hit 40,000 points. We talked about that a bunch. It's one of those things that is just incredible. But my pick for NBA MVP right now is going to be Jokic, with Shea very close behind. Stuff can still change. There's still a couple weeks left in the NBA. It's about 2 months left in the NBA season. We'll have to see how the rest of the season shakes up before we make before anything's set in stone. But in our next segment, we are going to transition out of the NBA and move back into college sports. There's been some recent developments that have to do with the NCAA, and it really amplifies how it's losing its power, and how this might change the face of college sports forever. We'll talk a lot about that coming up next. Stick around on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. We'll be right back.